You are now watching Chopping It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, we are live. It is Monday morning, chopping it up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Of course, I am Perry White. Good to see you guys today. Man, on my right here, the Hall of Famer, the legendary Roger Cador, and my man, the neurosurgeon over here on the board, that is Garrett Edgerson. I hope you guys had a great week and an even better weekend. And as we get started, we're going to get this week going, and hopefully you have a great week and a great weekend coming up. It's Mardi Gras, so for a lot of people around South Louisiana, I know you're enjoying the festivities, and it's wintertime, so I hope a lot of you guys are staying warm. It's been crazy weather all over the country, dealing with rain, ice, snow. 1 minute is cold, 1 minute is warm. Man, you got to make sure that you stay warm, stay not sick, Coach. That's the main thing. I hear you get a little congested over there.
I am congested. I mean, it has, it got me. This is the time of year I do suffer a lot, but I tell you, this one has been challenging.
What do you do? Is it mostly like sinuses, allergies? What?
It's both.
Yeah.
It's both. And in South Louisiana, in Baton Rouge in particular, with the a lot of the chemical plants doesn't do any good, And that's what my doctor's been telling me for years. It's a combination of all of that,
Yeah, I deal with the allergies too. Matter of fact, I dealt with them last night. I woke up in the middle of the night about 1 o'clock. I was sleeping then. It's just that draining, that consistent irritation. Had to pop a cup of Claritin, lay back down, and then get ready for the show today. And you need that to have a good night's sleep, because if not, you'll be sitting there looking around, a couple hours pass you by, and then right when you're about ready to go back to bed, the sun is coming up and it's time to get the day going. And it kind of throws you off for the rest of the day.
I think I used to take Zyrtec. I was on Claritin, and I switch up periodically. Mm-hmm. But I take one in the morning, one at night. But you mentioned you popped a couple of them.
Yeah, 2 of them.
You see, and that's probably what I need to do to dry me out.
Mm-hmm.
You give me a chance, so I'll do that.
Yeah, 2 of them will get me done. I've tried the 1, but the 2, after I do that, I can have a good night's sleep. And it allows me to be able to rest without waking up and having to do it. I'm the guy, I make the annoying noise, my ears draining and all that, do all that kind of stuff. But how was your week? Haven't seen you since Monday.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's been a while. Been a week.
Everything been good. Everything been good. Just moving along, trying to create some things. And we are working on some things with MLB for the historical Black All-Star game, baseball All-Star game in Arlington in July. Mm-hmm. In conjunction with the MLB All-Star Game. So we're working on a couple of projects, and, we've been doing Zoom calls and trying to go back and forth, trying to make everything right.
And for people out there who may not have known, who may not have understood that this took place last year in Seattle, kind of talk about, now that the cat is out the bag and it is year 1 under, coming in year 2 and going to be in Arlington this year, what the HBCU All-Star Game is in conjunction with MLB All-Star Weekend.
Well, we had a lot of conversation about doing something for historical black schooling as it relates to baseball. Sounding like an all-star game. And it was a 3-year thing. So, when you're working with organizations like MLB, NFL, NBA, planning, they want to make sure they get it right. If they're going to put that label next to something, they want it to be right. So it took 3 years worth of planning, and finally we got it right in year 3, where we were able to go forward. The thing that why we went forward and it went to Seattle, Ken Griffey Jr., better known as Junior, came on board and wanted to be a part of it because his son goes to FAMU, plays football. Mm-hmm. And he wanted to be a part of that. And the commissioner, Manfred, really embraced him. So he said, yeah, we'll do it in Seattle. That's how we end up doing it in Seattle, because Junior was there. And we really were able to really capitalize on that. And so they were excited with the turnout, the support. We're thinking it's going to be way bigger in Arlington. And the mere fact that the Texas Rangers are coming off of winning the World Series, So we're thinking this thing is going to go pretty good. I mean, MLB does. They got a lot of big hitters are working on this to make it happen. They're bringing in their promotional people who does a lot of stuff at the major league level, sitting in on the meetings, giving ideas. And so we are very excited about the possibility for this year and then next year being Atlanta, which we think will be even bigger. So I don't want to get ahead of them and talk about some of the things that we are going to do because they always like to be the ones to put out what they're going to do because they know they're going to do it. I don't want to say we're going to do this and then it doesn't happen. You got me?
I guess basically as a consultant to MLB and as an ambassador of HBCUs, you being a Hall of Fame coach from that level and understanding what is like at these programs, what would you say was some of the hardest things to try to get this thing kicked off initially, working with the MLB and partnering with these HBCUs to get these players that type of spotlight?
Well, getting through the NCAA, making sure we got the NCAA on board. That was the biggest one because you can't do nothing without their approval. So once we got their approval, then we had to work through the logistics of how this thing should be done. And now we had to leave out some schools and only pick D1 schools. And you didn't want to leave out the MEAC even though they don't have a baseball conference. But they do play baseball. 4 or 6 schools play baseball against other conference teams in that area. So we had to figure out how to make all of that work and get them all in there. And then once we found out we had 17 D1 schools, we had to make sure we're going to pick at least one player from each school to represent them, sort of like what the All-Star game does, one player from each team. And then once you do that, we had to get people in place who were going to see these players and make the recommendation of who the players were going to be. And once we got that done with scouts, major league scouts, and some people such as myself, I get to see games because they come to Southern. So I get to see a lot of SWAC schools on the Western Division. And so it all worked out pretty good. I mean, it really went. And we had some good players. I think it was 6 kids who played in the All-Star game signed professional contract. So for Major League Baseball, that was a win-win situation. The key is, can we duplicate this year? We got burnt a little because 2 or 3 of the best players who were returning left and went to other schools.
Doing it with the transfer portal?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and they were pitchers, and they were really good pitchers, so we lose those kind of people. But you know what? What we found out, that there are some pretty good position players who are at HBCUs. Some of them are undersized, but they're pretty good players. And the one thing I don't do a lot of talking in the meetings on the Zoom call, but I did make this suggestion and say it's going to be a good game. If the pitching holds up, it's going to be good. And they asked why. I said because the talent level is equal. They're not playing in LSU. You got me where the talent is superior. They're all playing likeness, same kind. And I was right. Because when I look at it, when you play against talent equal to yours, it can be a really good game. It's when the talent is lopsided. It's not a good game. And the game was 4-3, and it got decided in the bottom of the 8th inning, so it was really a good game.
And last year, you had a great opportunity to sit there and watch a lot of these teams because you were calling games at the SWAC baseball tournament.
Right.
So you had firsthand opportunity to watch these guys from the pitching and all the other positions. And as you continued to look at the talent, were you kind of scouting guys out at that time saying this kid could be one of those that could be special at the HBCU All-Star game?
Yeah, pretty much so. Plus I got to give it to the coaches did a good job with their recommendation to us, so we know who the top players were because they had to submit up to 5 of your top players. And they did a good job, so we were able to know who we were looking at going in. And then if someone come up the chain, the ladder, that's good. For instance, there was a shortstop from FAMU. Nobody but me said this kid could play. I saw the kid as a freshman. He weighed 130-some pounds. But I liked him. And I had a conversation with he and his dad. Say, son, if you get stronger, lift weight, do a lot of lifting, running, throwing, fielding during the offseason, hitting, you're going to be better. You're going to be a good player. Well, he come back, and it hurts me. I can't think of his name right now. But he came back as a sophomore, and they still were overlooking him, and I recommended him. And he got in, and he played his butt off. And they said, ooh, that kid can play. I said, I've been telling you all that. It's sort of like Ricky Weeks. Because he was undersized, people overlook him. You know, at HBCUs, you're going to always find those kind of kids. You're not going to get a Ken Griffey Jr. coming out of high school to consider HBCU. But you can get a Ricky Weeks that people overlook.
Let me ask you this, because you said something and it started to make me think as you continue to speak about it. There were a couple guys that played in the All-Star game last year that were big-time players for their programs and ultimately moved on out of the HBCU rank. Do you think guys will start to try to gravitate to this game to be able to showcase their talent on that big stage and potentially start using that to get looks, not only to move up and to, say, possibly get into the MLB, but to some of those big-time college programs or other programs around the country?
We think that this game is going to attract mid-level players that they'll consider because they're not going to get this nowhere else. This is unique. It's the only place you're going to get it if you're at a HBCU. And so we're thinking that you'll get a couple of kids that will gravitate to HBCUs and because of this game, because of the game and the notoriety. And I think what we're going to do for Arlington, it's going to be, we're going to make it where people know about this game, this thing, and they're going to grow it and make it bigger and create more excitement. And this is what it's all about.
Yeah, that Dallas-Fort Worth market is definitely different. It's huge. And then you look at Seattle. Seattle is in the far west corner, west coast
Northwest.
Northwest of the in the country. And so you're talking about the proximity to HBCUs is a great difference. But when you get into Arlington, you start to get into the South. You start to get in areas of people that's familiar. And the beautiful thing about it, that Dallas-Fort Worth area has a lot of alums of HBCUs the same way like next year with Atlanta that will get the ear of people who typically, may not get a chance to see this type of game where it will bring them in because they are familiar with knowing about HBCUs and the school names that'll be a part of it.
I agree so much, and I just think that, if everything goes off without a hitch, and I think it will because we pulled it last year, there'll be a lot of people in that stands.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of people in the stands.
What for you when this game takes place, do you just want to do the backdoor work, backroom work, and then just sit back and watch the fruit of your labor at that point, or would you like to be a little bit more hands-on with it? Because I'm thinking about maybe like a coach's clinic, right? You got a Hall of Famer like yourself, won a lot of games, a lot of Coach of the Year. You bring in coaches from HBCUs, and while the players are getting the spotlight, you would be great in terms of like a coaching clinic just to be able to talk to guys and understand. I understand we are low-resource institutions when you're talking about HBCUs, but let me give you some nuggets on some things where you can find success and you can build these programs, but you got to be able to do X, Y, and Z.
I've already recommended this 2 years ago about bringing in HBCU coaches for clinics. I recommend it on a different level, but in the summertime that they can visit a major league team and they be there with the major league team when they're at home. But they're looking like they want to bring it down because what they do is have so many former big leaguers who are associated with this game, who work for MLB with their Henry Aaron invitation, the Breakthrough Series. All of those guys are year-round workers. And so we're looking at that and trying to make it work. But it's on the table. I won't let it die because I think it's something that these coaches can benefit from. You know, and it's a great experience. It really is a great experience, and that's why I want them to have it. So I will keep this alive, and I have the ear of the right people that I think can make it happen.
How big is the buildup when you look at that Cactus Jack Classic that's over in Houston, the Andre Dawson Classic that I know you've been behind since the inception of it? How big are those when you get HBCU teams and you're able this year to be in Vero Beach, the Andre Dawson, the Cactus Jack is over in Houston, to have those spotlights of HBCUs early on during the season while the game is being played?
It took a lot of effort. People don't know it. It took when I first mentioned that to Jimmy Lee Solomon in Richmond, Virginia, Jimmy Lee was in the position Tony Regan is in now. And it took 5 years. People don't know how long it takes. It took 5 years before he was able to get back to me and say, I got it. Because you got to convince a lot of people to spend a lot of money. And are they going to get a return on their investment? This is what people got to understand. MLB is making an investment, and they're looking for a return upon that investment. So that's what I always knew that, but we're beginning to do some good things. We had not produced a lot of major league players, but we're producing a lot of players who are going into other positions into Major League Baseball. Like we got Ricky Weeks, for instance, is going to be assistant manager with Milwaukee. And there are other people in front office, scouting, marketing. There are so many other kids from historical black schools who are really progressing into a situation in MLB right now.
Last question before we get ready to take a break. When you look at the makeup of the HBCU All-Star Game during MLB weekend, are you starting now to get interest from big-time programs and college baseball as a whole outside of HBCUs that are looking at this and saying, this could be something maybe we can benefit from or we can use outside of the HBCU realm? Because what you're doing is starting something within a culture, but then now outside of that culture of HBCUs, is it attracting others?
I don't know if that's what the motive is, because it's unique. It's a unique brand, and it's being done because of what America has done. They're trying to correct a right. You know what I'm saying? And so that's what makes it unique, is that why do it for someone who's already had all the privileges?
Okay.
We got to help the people who've been denied.
Yeah.
And G loved that because he understands. Being a neurosurgeon, he could understand that. So, you don't have to do it for kids who come from privileged situations, so to speak, because they've had all the opportunity. The African-American kids have been the ones been denied and lack of so many things. And MLB made bad decisions, ownerships, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, when we lost the black athlete to football and basketball. We didn't embrace him, So, but now we're trying to get him back.
How long does a process like this, do you think? Because we get to see this in our time of a sport that lost a community, in particular baseball lost the African-American community. How long for you do you think it would take to win back the gain of attention of the
30
African-American?
years.
Oh, wow.
30 years minimum. It just takes that long. Take a couple of generations. It takes a couple of generations to regain what you've lost. I mean, that's just the way it is.
That's a process. A book has to be written about this. If in fact the African American community does return and embrace baseball as a sport to be played once again within our community, because it would show, I think, how a professional sport lost a group of a community and took the time to gain that community back. And I don't think we've seen that quite in sports, maybe in my lifetime or yours, where you had a professional arena sport that ultimately lost a group of people and tried to gain it back. I think that's like a case study that has to be observed.
Yeah. We certainly lost it. I mean, when there were a supply of great black players, there was no demand by MLB. The supply was great, but there was no demand. When the demand became great to have them, the supply ain't there. So this is why we're doing it, to try and replenish the demand, the supply that was lost. And it's a battle, but 20, 30 years, it's about right. It's going to take parents. You're going to take parents who really love that kid to say, I'm not going to let little Johnny go play football where he could have a brain injury. Ooh, we got a neurosurgeon, but he may not be able to save him. See, you got me? It's going to take parents who say that. I'm not letting my kid go play football where he can get her. Baseball provide a better option. And he could still be in a competitive. Plus, baseball make you use you got to think more. So it's really a thinking man's game. So.
And in that process, do you think then you will start to see the level of talent in the HBCUs once the black community, if this is successful to get black kids back into the game of baseball, that the talent level will begin to rise at HBCUs? Or do you think, like we see in other sports, the predominantly white institutions are going to come in and then try to get that talent if it begins to grow within the African-American community?
Oh, it's going to still be like football, basketball. They'll come in and get them.
Yeah.
We played a part in losing what we had, too, by not building facilities. I use Southern as an example. In 1972, we could have built a baseball field. The state was going to give us the money. We didn't do it. We could have built one in 85. We were going to get the money from private stuff. We didn't do it. So those are the kind of things, as long as we've got people who are running the university who doesn't have the right people around them to give them information. See, I'm not going to blame a president. He's got to have a staff of good people working for him that can bring information to him so he could see the big picture. You got me? And because Jesse Stone, when he was the president, he personally told me, he said, I really feel bad. He said, because we had the money, and my advisor said didn't have enough space to build it where you got it. See, not every president would say that, but he at least told me, he said he feel bad about it. So people make decisions without getting information. A lot of people told me I couldn't build that field that didn't have space. I said, yeah, but why I'm going to get the Corps engineer to come in and survey it and see. And we indeed had enough space. If you look at it, yes, we didn't have enough space. But I had gone, when I interviewed for the job at FAMU, my wife and I drove to Florida State, and they had a similar situation. Baseball field ran right along that overpass. And I said we could do it.
Gave you the idea.
It cemented it. It made me know I had the idea to build it, but now I knew we could.
Yeah. All right, everybody, let's get ready to take a break. We're going to come back and continue the conversation and chop it up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Stay tuned. We'll be right back, all right?
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with nonstops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time. Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient. They're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
BRAC implemented the Imagine Your Park strategic plan nearly 20 years ago. The results transformed the park system in East Baton Rouge Parish. There are 12 new community parks, 6 dog parks, Liberty Lagoon Water Park, skateboard parks, fishing ponds, a new conservation area in Central, improved playgrounds, and a growing trail system. It's really a lot to keep track of.
So we decided to give you an insider's peek into some of these amazing new community assets through the eyes of the folks who know them best, BRAC's community partners.
My name is Nathaniel Plum, and I am Paddle BR. What I often say I am is chief doer of stuff. The two things that everyone wanted were paddling and trails, and in our case, paddle trails. And so we did a lot of work to make it so that people could get out on the bayou. But without access points, no one can use them. BRAC has been amazing at building paddle launch sites so that we can get out on the water and enjoy everything that Baton Rouge has to offer. Not only are they listening to everything that Imagine Your Parks and Imagine Your Parks 2 that we asked for, but it's actually getting done, which I don't know about you, but that makes me happy every day of the week.
No wonder BRAC is the recipient of the National Gold Medal by the National Recreation and Parks Association. There really is something about East Baton Rouge and national champions. BRAC, #1 and still getting better.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
With over 60 years of combined experience, Kathy Sherburne and Anna Barnett bring a wealth of knowledge and excitement to the framing industry. Keeping strong to the Louisiana culture, Acadian Frame and Art has numerous local artists and sports team memorabilia for their customers to choose from. Whether you're creating a gallery-like setting in your office or simply looking for some fun art for your kids' playroom, Acadian Frame and Art is your one-stop picture framing spot. Call 225-927-6129 or go to www.acadianframe.com.
Get the memoir from the legendary baseball coach from Southern University, Roger Cador, Against All Odds. Roger refused to let his past dictate his future by rising to legendary college baseball status. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope. Against All Odds chronicles Coach Cador's determination to reach higher, to want more, and to dig deeper to find the courage to chase his dreams. Against All Odds. Get yours today by Cador & Cador Publishing. You are now watching Choppin' It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, we're back with more Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. I'm Perry White. He's the Hall of Famer Roger Cador and the neurosurgeon on the board over here, Garrett Edgerson, keeping the show going. Coach, Let's talk about a little baseball Hall of Fame, right? MLB Baseball Hall of Fame. Give us a breakdown of the names of guys that were on the ballot and the 3 guys that actually got in.
Well, the 3 that got in was Mara.
Joe Mara?
Joe Mara with the Minnesota Twin and the first baseman from Colorado and Beltray.
Carlos Beltran?
No.
No?
Adrian Beltray.
Adrian Beltray. Excuse me.
Yeah. And so that was 3. But 2 people didn't get in, and I was a little surprised. They didn't let Billy Wagner in and Gary Sheffield. Now, Gary Sheffield hit 509 home runs. He's never been tested positive for for steroids. And my point is, why isn't he in? He was one of the greatest right-hand hitters of all time, and he's not in. So, and Billy Wagner it's crazy that he's not in. It's just crazy.
Yeah, you're talking about Adrian Beltray. 366 votes. He had the most votes at 95%. Todd Helton, 307 votes with 79%. And Joe Morrow with 293 with 76%. But then right behind him is, as well as the 2 guys you're talking about, Billy Wagner as well as Gary Sheffield. Billy Wagner with 284 votes and Gary Sheffield with 246 behind him. Andrew Jones, 237, Carlos Beltran, Alex Rodriguez, Manny Ramirez, and so forth, of the names of just the many guys that were on the ballot to potentially get in.
I think Andrew Jones will make it. I think Billy Wagner make it next year. Obviously for Sheffield, he would have to be voted in by the veteran committee because he rose off the ballot this year. This was his 10th year. And then Carlos Beltran might be somebody we look at. The Alex Rodriguez and Manny Ramirez probably won't make it in because they did test positive for steroid. So that's a lot different. Why I think they may not get in. But again, we live in a great country, and you can't use the old adage that you're guilty by association. If you test a person and they come out clean, you can't crucify them for that. You got me? Let me say this. Barry Bonds may have had his issues. He may have had his issues. But they never really caught him being positive. You got me? A lot of assumptions were made. A lot of assumptions. And historically, people don't get as good as he got late in that career unless you had a little enhancement. If we look at the hammer, Hank Aaron, he really got really good late in his career. After 35, he turned it on. I wonder if they want to say steroid didn't exist back then. You got me? But he really turned it on after 35 years old. His numbers were better after 35 than they were before 35. Now, you figure that out.
You talking about Billy Wagner. He fell just 5 votes short of the threshold of getting into the enshrinement. But also talk about Jim Leland as a coach being able to see Hall of Fame status.
Well, they let him in, but they didn't let Cito Gaston in. Cito Gaston won back-to-back World Series with Toronto in 92, 93. And why can't he get in? Billy, the guy Leland.
Yeah, Jim Leland.
He only won 1. It's crazy. 2 is more than 1, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
I thought so. So you got some voters who got some issues. They older men who have issues. You got me? And there is no denying it that they have issues. they're racist, and they control certain things. And until that group of men die off, we're going to have this kind of foolishness.
Mm-hmm.
You got me? You know, once they die off, things will be a lot better. And I hate talking about people dying off, but they've got some issues.
Let's talk about the game of Adrian Beltre, Todd Helton, and Joe Mauer. Let's talk about that game. What kind of game did these guys have to be the three to make Hall of Fame status?
Joe Mauer, let's go with him. Even though he didn't play a long time, but he won 3 batting titles as a catcher. There's only been 4 catchers to win batting titles. I mean, there's been four batting titles won by catchers, and he won 3 of them, I think. That's make you a Hall of Famer. People were quick to mention, too, some people, that a lot of people who are in the Hall of Fame shouldn't be there, but they got in because of their friends. Their boys got them in. You know your boys, you heard of them. Boys going to get me in. Their boys got in, like Phil Rizzuto. Not a damn Hall of Famer. But he was in New York. He played for the Yankees. They let him in. They love Lil Phil. So he's one. But there are others. But Todd Helton, he played in Colorado, which is a hitter's-friendly atmosphere, the ball carry. He hit 317 at home and 280-something on the road. So you could see the big difference in the average. But he put up really good numbers, and they let him in. And Beltre is a unique situation. The Dodgers signed him at allegedly 16, but he was 15. So they pushed his age up. Normally people put your age down. In his case, they put it up. And Major League Baseball found out about it and made him have to go through the process again. I think the Dodgers were still able to re-sign him, but he had to go back through the process. You got me? So that was an interesting situation. But he always was a great fielder. And I listened to what he said. He said what helped him to become really good is when he learned what he had to work on to become good. He said he was working hard, but he didn't know what he was working hard for. He was just working. Once he started putting it in perspective, I'm going to work hard on my defense. I'm going to work hard on hitting the ball to right field or hitting. He said my game really got better. And he said working with a purpose made a difference in his baseball career.
You know, you talk about just guys like Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, who were rejected more than a year ago, in Sheffield, who is pretty much probably kept out of the Hall of Fame because his name was mentioned in the Mitchell report. How big was that report in terms of naming guys and, like you said, guilty by association with Gary Sheffield?
Right, yeah. You know, some people name got left out of there. Guys talked about that they knew did the same thing, but they left it out. The Old Boys Network, the Old Boys, see what I'm saying? They took care of them. And they wanted to bring down the biggest of them, the minority star. Rodriguez, Barry Bonds. Bring them down. You got me? But, you know, and, you know, let's face it. You know there was some other player. You know, BGO, them used steroids. You know, it's well known. You got me? They didn't do nothing to him. So, you know, I hate to even mention that on here. So,
you also look at Beltran, Carlos Beltran, and Andrew Jones. You look at those two guys; they're knocking at the door. And to see Andrew Jones continuously climb to get in that position, Beltran kind of seemed to be maybe mellowing out with the momentum to get into Hall of Fame. But with your thoughts on both of those guys and the possibility in the future, then you look at Wagner. I think on the ballot, he has one more year left to try to knock on the door to get in. So you look at those three guys, they're right there at the cusp. But I think more than anybody, Wagner wants to get in. His opportunity at that window being closed is short will be next year. But Beltran and Jones are both gaining momentum, more particularly Andrew Jones.
Well, Beltran not going to get in because they're going to use the hitting of the cane as cheating. Well, what if you're at second base and you steal a sign and give it to your hitter? Is that stealing or cheating? What is that? What is it called? It's not called cheating? If you at second, you steal a catcher sign, get it to your hitter. You just stole a sign, didn't you?
I don't know really how to look at that, Coach. I mean, G saying, yeah. G, come on, say something with this one. What you got? Nothing? Yeah, G say it's cheating.
It is cheating. And what he did, I mean, it's cheating a little in a little different spheres, you know? But it's still cheating. And, you know, I don't know how you in the court of law, cheating is cheating.
It is what it is, huh?
Yeah. So, but they let that go, but won't let it use that. My thing is, you know, it is what it is. Beltran could be a Hall of Famer, but for sure, Andrew Jones is going to go in. He and Billy Wagner.
Billy Wagner, Andrew Jones, and Beltran right there knocking at the door. Let's get ready to take a break, pay some bills. We'll come back and continue the conversation. Talk a little NFL football about what happened yesterday and who's going to the Super Bowl. So y'all stick with us. We'll be right back. More Chop It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White.
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time. Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient, they're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
BRAC implemented the Imagine Your Park strategic plan nearly 20 years ago. The results transformed the park system in East Baton Rouge Parish. There are 12 new community parks, 6 dog parks, Liberty Lagoon Water Park, skateboard parks, fishing ponds, a new conservation area in Central, improved playgrounds, and a growing trail system. It's really a lot to keep track of.
So we decided to give you an insider's peek into some of these amazing new community assets through the eyes of the folks who know them best, BRAC's community partners.
My name is Nathaniel Plum, and I am Paddle BR. What I often say I am is chief doer of stuff. The two things that everyone wanted were paddling and trails, and in our case, paddle trails. And so we did a lot of work to make it so that people could get out on the bayou, but without access points, no one can use them. BRAC has been amazing at building paddle launch sites so that we can get out on the water and enjoy everything that Baton Rouge has to offer. Not only are they listening to everything that Imagine Your Parks and Imagine Your Parks 2 that we ask for, but it's actually getting done, which I don't know about you, but that makes me happy every day of the week.
No wonder BRAC is the recipient of the National Gold Medal by the National Recreation and Parks Association. There really is something about East Baton Rouge and national champions. BRAC, #1 and still getting better.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg, we just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
With over 60 years of combined experience, Kathy Sherburne and Anna Barnett bring a wealth of knowledge and excitement to the framing industry. Keeping strong to the Louisiana culture, Acadian Frame and Art has numerous local artists and sports team memorabilia for their customers to choose from. Whether you're creating a gallery-like setting in your office or simply looking for some fun art for your kids' playroom, Acadian Frame and Art is your one-stop picture framing spot. Call 225-927-6129 or go to www.acadianframe.com.
Get the memoir from the legendary baseball coach from Southern University, Roger Cador. Against all odds, Roger refused to let his past dictate his future by rising to legendary college baseball status. An inspiring story of tenacity, faith, and hope. Against all odds chronicles Coach Cador's determination to reach higher, to want more, and to dig deeper to find the courage to chase his dreams. Against all odds, get yours today by Cador and Cador Publishing. You are now watching Choppin' It Up with Roger Cador and Perry White.
All right, we're back with more Choppin' It Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. I'm Perry White. He's the Hall of Famer Roger Cador and the neurosurgeon over here on the board, my man Garrett Edgerson. Let's get ready to keep it going. My man Jeremiah Clark, good morning. Thank you for joining us. He said, yes, Jeremiah, that account DMs are open, so if you need to send me a message or something, it is there. Coach, let's talk about the NFL. Yesterday, the AFC and the NFC championship. Let's start with the AFC championship, the game that I thought really for me was the big one. The Chiefs versus the Ravens, Patrick Mahomes versus Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson with all the issues of dealing with a contract in the offseason, teams didn't show any interest. He comes in this year. Looks like he's going to be the clear-cut favorite for the MVP this year. Going against Patrick Mahomes, interesting stat. The last 13 AFC championships have either had Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady in it, Patrick Mahomes being in the last 6 of them. That just tells you how amazing of a player that he is for the Chiefs and what he's been able to do. But now you look at the Chiefs, the Ravens. The Chiefs pulled it off 17-10. Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, man, listen. That is a dynamic duo. And when you look at what the Chiefs were able to do, they started out rocky this year. I'm going to tell you, I, for one, did not see them at this point to be getting into the Super Bowl. But when you look at the body of work Lamar has done, the teams that they have beaten, this was one hell of a game filled with some mistakes on the back end for the Ravens.
Listen, Kansas City is well oiled. They coach well. They coach well. I like the fact that Mahomes is who he is, Kelsey is who he is, but they had a lot of other different parts. And the coaching staff put them in the position to win. They know what works for them, and they keep working it. And the defensive coordinator, I have to give credit. He kept the pressure. He filled the gaps. He blitzed like crazy. And it was difficult for Lamar Jackson to burn him for big yardage. You got me? Those guys played at a different level defensively. And I didn't think this was going to happen. But I was impressed with what they did defensively, because you got to try and find a way to keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket. I mean, you can't let him get out of there. You know, this guy is so elusive. But Kansas City is well coached. Reeves is a good coach, and he's got a great staff, and they do stuff. That works for them.
You're talking about Patrick Mahomes in this ball game, 30 of 39 for 241 yards passing, a touchdown. Isaiah Pacheco, 24 carries, 68 yards rushing, and a touchdown. And Travis Kelce with the big day, 11 receptions, 116 yards receiving, and 1 touchdown. On the other side for Lamar Jackson, 20 of 37, 272 yards, a touchdown and an interception. Also with 8 carries, with 54 on the ground. Zay Flowers had a big day, but a costly turnover going on right there on the 1 yard line into the end zone that ultimately turned it to a touchback.
It was more than that. But when he caught the big pass, and then he had the penalty, What's the kind of penalty you call it, G?
Unsportsmanlike.
Unsportsmanlike. Why would he do that?
Mm-hmm.
You see, that kind of stuff, I think, really, now he's trying to do more than he's capable of, and the ball comes out on the touchdown, which really made a big difference in the game.
You look over on the other side in a big game last night, San Francisco versus Detroit. Man, Detroit blows the huge lead, 17 points down. The 49ers were. They found a way to battle back and win 34-31 over the Detroit Lions. The Lions in that game looked dominant early on in that ball game, racking up 442 yards, a total offense, 260 in the air, 182 on the ground on the other side for the 49ers. 413 total yards, coach 258 in the air, 155 on the ground. Both teams suffered turnovers apiece. For the Lions, it was a fumble. On the other side for Brock Purdy, it was an interception. But nonetheless, the 49ers found a way to battle back and get a win past the Detroit Lions 34-31.
The coach for Detroit, Campbell, I guess his name, you got to score points when you got them. You can't. You had them scoring. Bill on that 24 or 27-3, whatever the score was.
Mm-hmm.
Take the 3 points. It's important. And it's a different season than the regular season. The playoff, in the regular season, you can do that. If you lose, you play on next week.
Mm-hmm.
But in the playoff, if you lose, you go home.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to take the points. And, boy, I tell you, I like Detroit the way they play. But you got to make better coaching decisions.
Jared Goff in that ball game, 25 of 41, 273 yards, a touchdown. David Montgomery, 15 carries, 93 yards, and a touchdown on the other side for the 49ers. Brock Purdy, 20 of 31, 267 yards, passing, 1 touchdown, an interception. Christian McCaffrey, 20 carries, 90 yards, 2 touchdowns in that ball game. How about Brock Purdy sneaking out some yards, too, running the ball, 5 carries for 48 yards. And Deebo Samuels, who was dealing with an injury the game before, coming back and being an impact in this one, 8 receptions for 89 yards. 49ers look like a really good team to play. And now you're talking about the 49ers versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Patrick Mahomes headed to another Super Bowl. He already has 2 rings. I'm rocking the Chiefs today. I'm rocking with Kansas City. You know, I rock with Kansas City. I was going for Lamar, but I was torn. But now Kansas City, and I think I'm rolling KC all the way, Coach.
Well, that's a good choice. And they've been there.
Mm-hmm.
They've been there. Something about teams that have been there, the players. They understand, some things that's going to go wrong and you just got to recover. You got me?
Mm-hmm.
So it's something about experience, man. Just it's hard to beat,
When you look at a guy like Patrick Mahomes and the ability that he has to will his teams to victory, and it's unorthodox. We've seen the sidearm, no-look passes. We've seen the quick scampers. He's sneaky fast, and he's able to be elusive and pick up yards when it's crucial in the game. But most of all, winning another division title and taking his team to the championship even when a month or 2 ago didn't look like they were even in a position to even compete for this and to be in the Super Bowl. But what does that say about him as a competitor and you yourself as a Hall of Famer, recruiting competitors, knowing champions, and you a champion? You look at this guy, he's a champion.
He's a generational type player. What makes him that? Winning. That's what, like Tom Brady, them guys are generational. They don't come around very often. They're not the most physical.
Mm-hmm.
But, boy, can they win. Can they will others to play up to their – it's something when you play with that kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
He makes you better, makes you, put you in a situation to win. So I'm fortunate that we're alive at a time when you could see those kind of players perform.
Do you think people appreciate Tom Brady in the moment now since it's still fresh, or it will be years down the line before that's actually realizing what we were witnessing? Because I think the same thing for LeBron James. You're going to have people who are in the moment who are huge LeBron fans that's going to say right now, yes. But for it to really resonate and settle in on people to say, you're not going to see that type of talent often. Matter of fact, not even often. Well, like you said, once in a lifetime, generational type of guy, to experience that, and then once he's gone, you start to realize, damn, he was a really good kid. A really good ball player.
Well, LeBron James is definitely that physically. You when Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes, physically don't have the same posture that LeBron James. You see LeBron James, he act like he's 6 feet. I mean, he's how tall is 6'7", 6'8"?
Yeah. Six
Yeah,
what?
he's
G?
6'7".
6'7".
Yeah, I mean, he's so unique. He's unique. He's not just a generational. He's a unique generational type player.
Physical
with all the things.
specimen.
Yes, specimen. And he's played 20 years in the league. I mean, you know how hard that is?
No doubt about it. I don't know how hard it is, but I can see it.
They're beating you up, man. It's a physical. Basketball is a physical game at the NBA level. And he's been able, but it tells me one thing: he eats right, he trains right. He's not doing a lot of the other activities other people are doing, you know. And his body is still solid as a rock.
Who is a physical specimen for you when you look at the game of baseball throughout your life of loving the game and playing the game and watching the game?
Who was what?
A physical specimen, like you just like, I don't understand how this guy could do it. Because could it be somebody like a Cal? I was not going to say Cal Ripken was not a physical specimen, but he definitely played consecutive games more than anybody else.
Yeah, he did. But, yeah, that was unique, too. You know, I'm going to tell you, Barry Bonds, Bobby Bonds, was a pretty good physical specimen. See, Willie Mays was really a specimen. That's why he was able to play 20-some years. And them guys didn't train the way they or eat the same way. But Willie Mays had when he was chiseled, when you look at him in the 50s and 60s, you know, he was really chiseled. So he's one guy that I, looked at.
What about you for you coaching the guy? Who's that one guy that you can recall coaching that you was like, man, hey, this dude is the dude?
When you say is the dude, what you mean?
Just once again a physical specimen. You know, he can go all day.
Fred Lewis was a physical specimen. Fred Lewis was 6'2", about 195, 200. He might have been 210 and you would never know it because everything was, when I look at him, I had Fred Lewis, Ricky Weeks, Michael Woods, Marcus Chandler, Marcus Townsend, all great athletes. I had all them guys on the same, on the same team. I mean, all great athletes. So,
has the conversation ever been had when you look around SWAC baseball, and it goes way beyond my lifetime here on this planet, but when you look at, is there ever a conversation to say who was the greatest to play in the SWAC?
It's hard to say because you can't go back to the old days.
Yeah.
And I know they had great players. Okay? When I played as a student athlete, Jackson State and Grambling and Prairie View, great, and Alcone, great players. So,
have you ever heard the conversation where somebody, they mentioning guys and say, man, you know how I always have that
They would never say the greatest because they said was a great player.
Okay.
Because it's hard. It's hard because you're going to miss somebody.
Because it's like SWAC football, it's synonymous. You're going to hear Walter Payton every time. And there's plenty of other names, of course, but it's just like the great Walter Payton and Jerry Rice are the two names that just stick out every time you mention SWAC football because of what they were able to do on the next level. What sticks out as a player to SWAC baseball?
Well, Ricky Rook's name going to stick out. I mean, and then who else after that when they had so many other good players? I don't really know because I don't entertain it that much. So,
and I don't think people realize how big of the award that Ricky won, the Heisman Trophy of baseball. I don't think people truly understand how huge that award is to say that he won that at Southern University, considering the hundreds of schools out there, that this guy was the best baseball player in the country, and he did it, and he won the ultimate award for when you're the best baseball player in the country.
At a HBCU.
At a HBCU.
I don't think they really, because it's something about black folks because it ain't football. They really don't understand it to the degree you just mentioned it. And it's sad. It really is, because this ain't going to happen again in our lifetime.
No.
It ain't going to happen. And I knew I had a great situation, and this is why I push it. I tell people, I'm the one coach at the HBCU that could have made this happen, because of what you had to go through to make it happen. You had to listen to foolishness, people telling you lies about how good somebody's not. And you had to listen there and sit there. When I had to apply pressure, I did. When I had to accept criticism, I did. I worked this thing out to a T where we were able to make this thing happen, and got it done. And so I know other coaches not going to do that. They're not going to take the criticism and still stay the course in order to get this thing done.
Man, a big-time award. I believe he deserves, you as well as Ricky, y'all deserve statues outside of Lee Hines Field. I truly believe that, because you're a Hall of Famer. He's a Hall of Famer. And what you guys did at Southern University in terms of the baseball, and not only that, what you guys done when it comes to the SWAC, the entire conference, not only Southern, should have some type of enshrinement or something that carries on that legacy. And when every time a coach goes out to recruit, those two names, no matter what school in the conference is going out recruiting, they should make mention that, hey, we got Hall of Famers in college baseball, Hall of Fame. We got a coach as well as a player, a guy that won the ultimate award in college baseball sports. That has to sell, because overall that's good for the entire brand, for everybody, and not just for one particular institution. Although that particular institution at Southern should do, I believe, they should do a better job of being able to acknowledge that and don't let that get lost in the past, in which I feel like they have. So
they'll let it go. And like I said, what I did, the things I did them because they had to be done. If I was like you and could do more things with the PR, I probably could have done more. But, well,
the age of technology at that time, it is not accessible the way it is now, and easily to put things and produce things that you could do on your phone. I can imagine, in the early 2000s, if you wanted to produce something, man, that you needed that truck, huh? You needed that production truck sitting out there with about 3 guys in there being able to make it work. So,
but just think I did all of that without a cell phone, Ricky Weeks. I had that doing phone in my office. I get in there at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm working the phone. It was a pleasure, though, for me to work that phone and make this happen. Talking to different people, the way they think. You know how white people think about black people. It was all coming forward. And then when I was able to keep tearing the barriers down, breaking them barriers down, and then they became different people. It was a 2.5-year odyssey. Again, it didn't happen overnight. I had to make them call for 2.5 years to get this thing done.
And that's the beautiful thing. Black folks sticking with black folks in order to push excellence and success.
There you go.
Instead of hating and trying to tear them down. Hey, I see something in you. You are great. I got to tell the world about it. And if anybody say anything different, I'm here to stand up on behalf of you to tell them you don't know, and let me tell you.
And I wasn't going to go in the street and bitch and gripe about these people won't listen. I knew all of them weren't going to listen. But you know what? Ricky got a lot of votes. He got a lot of votes because by the time I got through with them, they were telling their friends. And that's really what happened,
And now you and him went into the College Baseball Hall of Fame together. So what an amazing moment for you guys to share. An amazing moment for you guys out there who are watching. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Shout out to Elwin Moore, Jeremiah Clark. Thank you guys, as always, is tuning in. And anybody else that tunes in after the fact, if you didn't catch the show live, hit that subscribe button right there underneath the video. Tell a friend to tell a friend about Chopping It Up with Coach Roger Cador and Perry White. Good, informative information here, and we're going to continue to keep it going, as this is the last show for January. Next time we see you, it'll be February, and we hope you guys do join us. And hit the subscribe button, share the show, and let others know to get in here and have this conversation with us. So, as from Perry White, Roger Cador and the neurosurgeon, Garrett Edgerson. We thank you guys, and we see you next week. Coach, get us out of here.